Hello, this is the late summer cover crop tour and garden tour. It's September 13th, and I just like to have a little review here. So the apples I planted this spring are doing okay. They were all cut down to just under 18 inches to start the diagonal espalier, and some of them put on 2 feet of growth, some a little bit less. I also did a row of okra behind the row of apples, and then some various cover crops and a little mulch in this bed. The bed was improved with several tons of compost tilled into the top foot or so. Interesting observation, the apples and cover crops did significantly worse. They did poorly under the neighbor's damn Chinese elm. Gonna have to do some root ripping or something maybe as time goes on. Because down here, same compost, same treatment, same application of water, everything is dramatically healthier. Interesting, look at that okra. It is loaded with pods. These are of course going to be used for seed for next year's cover crop mixture. And moving on, scissor lift. The arborvitaes that I planted here by the pool are doing okay, though this soil is still pretty terrible, heavy clay. I've been top dressing with compost, which has made a bit of a difference. This area grew thistles really well, but not much else thrives there yet. There's the catalpa, which I might transplant somewhere useful. And these burning bushes are doing okay. The Red Ripper cowpeas are volunteers from last year, which is good. I may let that happen again. Okay, and here we are to the main garden. In here I have buckwheat, various cover crops, turnip, radish, sunflower, probably a little bit of mustard, and I did overseed a little bit of chicory, but I don't know if that will be viable into next year or not. The main purpose of this bed, though, was to see how the rye vetch cover crop from last winter suppressed weeds and supplied nitrogen. Suppression of weeds was off the chart, unbelievably successful. However, I ran out of nitrogen, or I ran out of nutrients one way or another. The brassicas do look green and beautiful, but the pumpkins didn't grow quite as fast or aggressively as they probably should have. So these volunteer sunflowers from last season actually did really well. I've got the heads cut off for seed saving. At least I got some of the seeds before the damn squirrels got me. The west half of this bed, where the corn is growing, I am currently facing north, but I tilled in, again, several tons of compost per, about a ton, probably 2 tons of compost per 1,000 square feet. We'll go there. Compost came with lots of amaranth and It grows beautifully and has a wonderful root system. I'm sure it's doing wonders for the soil, but it's soaking up a lot of nutrients. And amazingly, I tarped the area where that bloody butcher corn is currently growing. And the soil was good and bare after the addition of the compost. However, I did not tarp this area, and it is inundated with weeds, amaranth and other stuff, and the corn is just completely stunted. Unbelievable. It was planted all at the same time, and it isn't until over here where the tarping begins and to the north that the corn is truly succeeding, and it's actually doing very well. I added no chemical fertilizer to this plot over here, this west half, only the compost. So I'm not sure if it was the allelopathic effect of the amaranth or what. Just the water, probably, possibly. Have to do some further testing there. I do have some pretty healthy turnips growing in this area amongst the pumpkin. And what's this? Something is working in here. I don't know if something's digging. I don't know if it's voles or what. Or if it's the rabbit. Or worse, voles. Plagued with voles. That seems like a rabbit den, though. Okay, this area. This is the behind the garage bed. I threw down yellow clover. This is going to be a yellow sweet blossom yellow clover test plot. And I'm just working on soil building here. Eventually I'll plant a tree. I'll want some decent soil, but I did put in some sun hemp, some buckwheat, and I just covered the whole area with a half an inch of compost, and that's it. And germination was okay of everything where I put it. Grass is of course going to come through. If all goes according to plan, though, the yellow blossom sweet clover will be tall as the cereal rye will be by next spring, and weed competition won't be an issue. Of course, the buckwheat, corn, sun hemp will all die off over the winter or first frost. This area, this is a neighbor's gate and the fence line southwest of the yard, all planted at the same time. Sorghum Sudan grass, sunflower, buckwheat, various peas and beans. The peas and beans didn't do as well as the sorghum Sudan grass. It's actually doing really well. The buckwheat is doing well as pretty much usual. But everything around this elm tree is stunted. Another damn Chinese elm, which I haven't cut down yet. Don't have the heart to do so. But I think it's going to have to go. The effects are kind of dramatic. I mean, we're 3.5, almost 4 feet tall here, going down to less than 2 feet under the elm. And it has almost no foliage, but they just notoriously suck the soil moisture out of the ground and transpire it. So that's that. And here's 15 yards of horse manure, which I brought in the other day. That will go on the main garden east half. It'll just be top dressed. Seeds will be incorporated with disking, and that's what we're gonna do. Pumpkin vine, this area is kind of coming together. I've raised it up 6-7 inches, topsoil and compost. The arborvitae are definitely loving the soil amendments. And this is the MWRD district compost, which does have some biosolid in it, and I've just been spreading that out over the areas that I don't intend to food garden with. It is magnificent for turf improvement, soil amendment. Okay, over here, this is the north side of the yard's pumpkin bed. Atlas pumpkins, a little bit smaller in size, 20-pound jack-o'-lantern size pumpkins on somewhat more compact vines. I would say the vines are definitely more compact, more prolific. I did one long row with about a 3-foot, give or take a 3-foot spacing, which was not enough. They probably needed to be planted closer to the fence because they just tend to want to grow south towards the sun, away from this hedgerow. And probably the 3-foot spacing would be okay, but in one up against the fence, another one away from the fence, 4 feet at 3-foot spacing to fully fill the site. In here are my purple potatoes, which did okay, but some vines sort of took over. So we'll see what we get at the end of the season. Also, from this line to the west was compost added and tilled in. Lots of compost, so the soil improvement was kind of dramatic. From this point then to the east, it was only cover crops for last year, rolled down, or weed-eated down, I should say, not even rolled down. This area sucked. This was the worst gourd turnout, the most pathetic gourd arch I've ever had, so I'm not going to do any more serious gardening in this spot until the soil's straightened out. It's very heavy clay still. It grows weeds, but that's about it. And then we're back here to the main garden. However, this strip, 15 feet from here to the north, I'm really struggling with. It has a weird drainage property. The cereal rye didn't grow properly in it last winter. This summer, this sorghum Sudan grass and sun hemp have done okay. There's also cowpeas in here, a little bit of volunteer hairy vetch from the hard seed, and some clovers. But all in all, this area is a little bit of a dead zone for growing stuff other than sorghum Sudan grass. So I'll have to sort this out. I think that does it for now.